Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trident Talks. I'm Josh, the recruitment director here at Trident, and I'm very pleased to say today we're joined by Ryan Pullen, who is the head of cybersecurity at Stripe. Ryan, welcome to the video series. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So Ryan, look, obviously we first met, I think, start of the year maybe, or back in the last year at one of the Waterloo clubs. I think.
Yeah, last year.
Can you just tell the viewers who are you? What's your background? And yeah, how did you get to where you are?
So I'm the head of cybersecurity for Stripe OLT, as you said, which is a Bristol and London-based MSSP. Foundationally, it's an MSP, IT support contracts, service migrations, 365, very heavy Azure-based sort of work package, and now we're bolting on the sort of cybersecurity services. So your penetration testing, your incident response, your consultancy, your CE plus, all of those routine services. But we're also in the sort of threat intelligence space as well, which is quite interesting. My experience, I started as a junior consultant in another Bristol-based consultancy, and then moved into sort of the big corporate world, where I sort of specialised in the offensive sort of side of things. I worked at a company called Grant Thornton, leading on offensive engagements, basically, which took me to some cool places and some cool clients. But helping Stripe now define and build out the cyber services and onboard many clients, looking after their services and providing SOC solutions.
Nice. So you're head of cyber there, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a team, or what's the setup there?
So well, we have a team that's growing very quickly. We're still in the infancy stage of growing that department. However, we've got 3 full-time staff within the sort of threat management space. So that's doing vulnerability process management, providing routine scans and consultancy for clients. We have a function which is purely alert-based, so just sort of monitoring and response for clients as well, of all different sizes. Very, very bespoke, specialized services where they have a smaller footprint. It's a very large scale, sort of very diverse services sort of in the healthcare space.
You're obviously working for an MSSP. You're right at the front of what the clients see. You see, well, you get clients coming to you with requirements, incidents, problems, issues, challenges, etc. We don't see that, right? Other people don't know what's going on. They don't know about certain particular breaches and things. And of course, I know you can't disclose specifics, but I want to talk about some cool stuff. So what are you seeing, I suppose, on a whole, or just generally around different breaches, particular sectors? Can you just talk us through some, maybe some case studies or some cool stuff that's going on at the moment? I know there's lots of viewers that want to hear some of this.
Yeah, no problem. So very, very, very recently, a college in the States got hit. I'm sure most people will have seen that. We're seeing, from my perspective and what I'm responding to, we're seeing an awful lot of targeted phishing campaigns. We talk about that all the time. You hear about that all the time in the space, and there has been a massive spike based on what I've seen, COVID-related phishing emails. And these aren't your low-hanging fruit stuff, the stuff that I'm responding to. This is things that are being pre-packaged with banking trojans being actually sent directly to financial account managers and things like that in large organizations where they've been in the press to say, okay, we're making job cuts or we're making different sort of situational changes for our resources. And that's showing a direct correlation where things are becoming more targeted from what I'm seeing. And there's all the other stuff as well, all the low-hanging fruit, downloading, buying a load of list of emails from various websites and things where they're getting spammed left, right, and centre to say, check if you're in your area, if people have got it, all of that sort of stuff. That's dying off because it's become less of a novelty, but at the start there was a massive spike. In the healthcare space that we're supporting, we're seeing an awful lot of directed campaigns to third-party manufacturers. So supply chain management is a huge thing that we're seeing, where they're becoming the weak link for other organizations. Also in the aviation space, because it's been shut down massively, some of the staff have have still been retained, but in a reduced capacity. And when you're away from the office, we've seen characteristics of the psychology change between emails, because if you're getting less work, you're giving more attention to other things. And so we've seen a difference in levels of appetite, I could say, to responding to certain things. So what we as a company have been very, very, very busy through this period, which is a good thing, because it's all uncertain times, but it shows that the negative effect it's had on some companies as well.
Let's talk about the psychology piece that you mentioned. So it's almost employment awareness, isn't it? Or employee awareness. It's, if I'm only working now 2 days a week because I'm flexi furlough or wherever it may be, just the needs aren't there. Do you think people's mindset changes around like the vigilance piece and around almost like their care to click on links? And do you think so? Or
in my personal opinion, I would say yes. From what I've seen, yes, because remote working shows whole different levels of interest in different topics, and some people it worked great for, and we're quite lucky to be able to have the technical abilities to be able to do so nowadays. However, I responded to an incident last week which was basically a perfect example of this, where a user had clicked on a link. They were connected to the VPN, and we were able to respond to the alert. They basically clicked on a link because it looked like at the time that their workload had reduced because of the amount of stuff going on. And so when that happens, you naturally want to maintain yourself as a busy person and make sure your employment is maintained and all of those sorts of things, which is natural. It's a perfectly normal thing to do. However, in this instance, it had negative repercussions, and what came through, or tried to come through at least, was something that was pretty nasty. And we're seeing that on quite a few different clients, and not only our clients, but in the wider space, where we're seeing more attacks that potentially would be negated through communications and interpersonal connections with your IT staff, where you might just go over and say, what about this? Or if you've got an internal cybersecurity function or something like that, systems don't work necessarily for all businesses in the same way when you're in a remote capacity, and those communications can break down. So we've definitely seen an increase in appetite for potentially some of the attacks that we may have negated, and things like USB controls and things like that change when you're away from the office. People want to watch films. There's no problem with that if it's in line with your company policy. However, where those films have come from may introduce other things.
so also if you think about the environment all the users are in, I'm in a comfortable environment here, right? My guard is down, so to speak. I'm not surrounded by my colleagues that I used to be surrounded by. I haven't got an IT team there, like you said, who I can just go, hey, I've got this dodgy email. Can you quickly take a look? And they look over your shoulder and they give you the green light, the red light. And also, it's just, you're not having someone constantly, or it's just familiar surrounding, right? And your guard's down.
Absolutely. And with that comes a lot of relaxation with common things, clicking emails, forwarding emails, downloading things, not checking who you're sending things to. That can happen, and that's natural. And those are things that we've seen as well. However, what also comes with that, when you're not in that capacity, is everybody's spending tens of hours a week on Zoom calls and Teams calls and things like that. Distribution of content for us has been a challenge, where we've seen multiple files and sort of DLP related issues being used through Teams and Zoom as a way of sharing files, where whether it's personal related things or larger files, because from an Exchange server and an email perspective, mail security is quite different to sending a zip within Teams or Zoom or another video sharing platform.
Okay, so moving on then, head of at an MSSP, what do you think is the future of consulting? And again, it's a big question, but or maybe more so, what's your direction and strategy, without giving away any competition or anything to competitors? What do you think needs to change, especially off the back of this? Is it going to be more instant response focused? Is it going to be more internal awareness training for your clients to stop as many events happening and things? What do you reckon?
So for us and me specifically, the benefit of Stripe as an organisation is we act in a very agile approach, and I don't mean agile as in sort of the Kanban boards kind of thing. I mean it is an approach where in a previous life I would always write a penetration test report and just say, here are your problems, here's the recommendations, and that would be it. When at Stripe, what we're able to do is we've got the whole engineering function, because we're an MSP as well. We provide the remediation solutions as well, and we try to bolt that in where we provide that consultancy from a third line engineer who's an expert in Azure storage containers or whatever it is, to help those issues that we've identified. And we try and go armed with the solution as well. Because our clients are so diverse in size, they don't always have that capability. And it may be an area that they're just moving into and they want the security testing. They might not have the development experience or engineering capability. So for me, the direction that I believe we're going is actionable intelligence. So the changes and information that we're gathering, we try to capture it in a way that we're able to immediately respond to that in a very considered fashion, where we have context around the business appetite, where we're not completely blind. So we're looking at collecting data from the dark web and using that to see if that's informing any of the attacks that we're seeing, and if it sort of correlates. We're also looking at lots of different paths along the Microsoft stack of how we can do privileged identity management and sort of access permissions and conditional access controls, which is something that our engineering function support us with, where we can use that information to inform our SOC, basically, to be able to alert on various, so impossible travel, for example. That's not something in a previous role I would have been able to spot, where IP addresses and logon locations change in a short time frame, where it's impossible to travel to that location with the current travel capabilities we have, identifying Tor access and things like that. It's not sort of next generation, but it's more considered around user awareness and what people are using to negate controls. That comes with a whole problem, like you said, with the user awareness training. We're doing that in a way where we feel we're not just providing a phishing campaign and just leaving it there. We're going to try and help understand and do some of the sort of hands-on exercises where we'll send a few samples and you need to tell us which ones are bogus and which ones are just poor English kind of thing, which we see a greater response from, and sort of a better uptake in guidance, where it's not an e-learning platform. We're sending a consultant to go and educate those users.
I think the threat-led approach is I think it's a must-have now, isn't it? How can you as a consultancy be better informed around your clients', let's say, attack surface, just a big picture?
Our scales are so diverse.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Right, okay, last question, and I will let you go. I ask everybody this: if you weren't in cybersecurity, what would you be doing
right now during the coronavirus?
Right now, yeah. Maybe not in COVID, you'd probably be on furlough, but just generally, what would you be doing?
Be a Twitch streamer.
What's the other side of Ryan? What's the other life that you would have, do you think, if you weren't head of cyber?
Pretend to be a surfer of whatever poor capacity that could be in.
You're such a West Country boy, aren't you? On the Torquay beaches, yeah?
That's what I'd love to do. I don't think I'd earn very much money doing so, because I'd be not the best. But probably not looking at a screen.
Absolutely. Surfing all day. Absolutely. Well, Ryan, thank you very much for coming on today. Hope the viewers found it insightful. I think I certainly did. I love hearing about the changes in psychology from the end user or the endpoint, and how working remotely has changed, I suppose, the way also the threat actors are now focusing on how they attack people. So yeah, I appreciate it, and good luck at Stripe. Hope it all goes well, and we'll have to get you back on soon as well, because I know you've got so many stories that we're going to want to hear.
Absolutely, sounds good.
Cool. Thanks, Ryan. Take care.
Bye.